Hi guys, welcome to my channel. I'm glad you guys could join me today. And today marks the first day in my Inspired by Pinterest card series. Um, but for this card series, I thought I would take some pins that you wouldn't normally use for card making and try to take some of the elements from those pins and turn them into cards. Recently, my sister had a baby shower about a few months back, and I was tasked with making some mason jar centerpieces for her baby shower. And so I found a lot of ideas from Pinterest onto my board, and came across this one the other day. You see there, it's a set of mason jars that someone has painted. And they've added some twine, some fresh flowers, a bow, and I really like that idea. So I was sitting in my craft room thinking to myself how I can turn that picture there that I pinned into a Valentine's Day card for my oldest daughter. And so looking through my stash, I found this mason jar stamp from the Two Paper Divas when I was a part of their design team. And this is their large mason jar. I'll make sure to leave the links to their store in the description box below. So I thought, okay, so I have a mason jar stamp. What about using pattern paper to kind of recreate that pattern look from the pin? As you can see here, there's one that has stripes, polka dots, and then there's one that's like a solid purple. So I thought maybe using these papers from the Die Cuts with a View Violet Leaf Stack would work. Then all I would have to do is just stamp out my mason jars, use a gray marker to add a little bit of shading, fussy cut it out, add some twine, maybe a bow, maybe a flower, anything to dress it up just a little bit, and turn it into a Valentine's Day card. Now she's 16 years old, and she's not into the traditional pink and purple colors anymore, so I chose to go with shades of green. So I wanted to keep the pattern kind of small. I mean, the stamp is pretty big, but I didn't want to use paper with a very large pattern, because then it's kind of hard to get the whole pattern in the stamp when you go to stamp it. So with that in mind, I have my card base ready to go. This is a standard A2 size card base, and I just used some dark blue cardstock, and I put a strip of white cardstock down the middle. I thought I would keep the card base pretty simple because we are using some pattern papers, and I think that they will really pop against the white background. So with that said, guys, let's get started. Now the first thing we need to do is open up our mason jar stamp and get it stamped onto our pattern paper. Got my stamp block here. And I have a few other cards that I have planned in this series, so make sure you guys check back in so that you can see those. Okay, let's ink this up. And let's get it stamped onto this light green textured paper. Make sure I get a good impression first time around. So as you can see, when I stamped the first time, there's that whole line there, which is not a big deal. You can always go back in with a fine line black marker and fill it in. Okay, now we're going to stamp it on the polka dot paper. Sorry, I was off frame there, guys. And then lastly on this darker green textured paper. Make sure I'm in frame, that way you guys can see exactly what it is I'm doing. Okay, there we go. And there we are. Now we got all three of our mason jars stamped. Now all that's left to do now is to go in with my Cool Gray 4 marker. There we go. And add a little bit of shading. I'm going to bring that in for you guys so you can see. Just a little bit, not too much. I'm just following the curve of the mason jar. Okay, there we go. And then we can go in with a lighter gray marker just to lighten that up just a little bit. And anytime I'm paper piecing, I always use a light gray dark gray marker to add in where the shadows might be, and then a lighter gray marker just to soften up the shadows a bit. Soften up that dark marker. Now, I don't know how many of you guys follow Tim Holter Ranger on Instagram, but I was on there yesterday, and it seems that they are going to be releasing their glossy accents in their multi-matte medium with fine line tip applicators included, which I was super excited about because I use glossy accents a ton. And so for them to come out with a bottle that has the applicator already on there is fantastic, I think. Gonna just shade these all the same, just so you can see how I go about doing that. I think adding any kind of shading when you're paper piecing really makes it stand out that much more. You can certainly go in and watercolor these. You can color these with your Copics or any other type of alcohol marker you may have. It's been a while since I actually paper pieced. And I have a ton of other projects as we speak in the works, as well as design team projects that I thought, you know, want to be able to get these cards made. And have it be something quick and easy. And there we go. Alter these a bit. Let me try to zoom out a bit, guys, that way you can see. Okay, there we go. I'm going to try to alter these a bit. So what I'm thinking is to have them go down in size, I guess. And the way to do that is, what I'll do is I'll leave this dark green pattern mason jar its normal size, the size of the stamp. This polka dot one, I want in the center. So that one I will probably try to make it a little bit shorter than this one here. And then this green one a little bit shorter than that, because you know that mason jars come in different sizes. So what I'm going to do is grab my pencil really quick and try to eyeball it a bit, I guess. I think like right about here would be good. It's kind of easy to do it with, make the line go straight across because of the polka dots. Really help. Now what I'm going to do is take my black marker and darken that line. I'm going to go over it a few times to kind of mimic the line in the stamp. Okay, there we go. You see there. Now I'm going to take my marker again, my Cool Gray 4 marker, and just take that shading down along the bottom. Now we shortened it. And soften up that dark color out a bit. Now when I go to cut it, I'll cut it along this line that I drew right here, and we'll wind up with a shorter mason jar. I'm going to do the same thing with this one here. Let's see. I'd say that's about an inch. Need to go a little bit higher for this one. So maybe like right here might work. Let's see. It's one thing about me, I'm definitely okay. Now I'm going to go back in with my black marker and darken up that line a bit. I think it's cool to be able to take your clear stamps and kind of just play around with them a bit and alter them to fit whatever card or craft or whatever you are doing. I'm going back in with my Cool Gray 4 to add the shading along the bottom. I'm going to soften that up a bit using my lighter gray marker. And there we are. Now I'm going to just fussy cut these out. When I come back, we'll put the we'll add the embellishments to the mason jars and put the card together. Alright guys, here we have our mason jars cut out. You can see here's our original one, which is the full stamp, and then we have the pattern paper one, which I cut down an inch to create a smaller jar. And then this one, I think I cut it about maybe about an inch and 3/4 smaller. Okay, over the edges, but I'm going to use my Copic today because that's all I have. Go around the white edges, cover those up. There's one. Here's the other one here. Sorry guys, I was out of frame. All I'm doing is covering up the white edges with my Copic marker. Being very careful. Okay. And lastly, this one here. Alright. I have some twine here. Oh, this is actually jute cord that I have. Trying to see which color will look nicest. I think this light brown one would work. But I have a dark brown, and this is sort of like a light gray color. But for these mason jars, I think I'm going to go with the light brown. Just want to be able to wrap it around the neck of the mason jars. I'm going to cut a couple pieces here. Enough for each of the jars. Okay, that's 2. I just need 1 more for the smaller one. 3. Okay, so let's get started with the big one. Just gonna use my tacky glue if I can get it to work for me here. I'm just gonna add a little line of glue. So I'm gonna cover the whole neck of the mason jar. I think it'll be easier to do it that way instead of doing a little bit at a time. Kind of want to leave enough left over to be able to tie a little knot. You can see what I'm doing here. All I'm doing is just wrapping the jute cording along the neck of the mason jar. That's all I'm doing. Trying to wrap it as tight as I can so that way I have enough to do a knot. Doesn't look like I have enough there, but I can fix that. Try a really quick fix for that. If you find that you haven't cut enough to go around, I'm going to add a little knot and just glue it along the front. Hopefully I cut enough of the jute cording for the other 2. I love working with tacky glue, but it takes some muscles to be able to get that glue out of that bottle. It's like it doesn't want to leave. Okay, I think I'd be alright with these other 2. So let me get these other 2 wrapped, and then I will just make a knot for the bigger one. Try to make sure I get enough glue on here. Takes some work to squeeze this bottle and get the glue that you need. Okay, what I'm going to do is try to leave a little bit more out this time. Okay, wrap it a few times. Yeah, looks like it's going to be enough for this one. This one could just make a quick knot. Okay. Cut some of the excess off. There we go. And we have that one done. Okay, we have one more to go. And when I knot it along the front, I didn't leave myself enough of a tail on this side. We're going to see if we can get it to work for us here. Cut this excess off. There we go. Now I need another piece of the jute cording. I can get it where I left off. Just going to tie that off into a knot and just glue it to this one here. And then we'll have all our mason jars done. Just going to put the knot right there and then cut the excess off, and no one would ever know the difference. Okay, now we have our mason jars complete. Okay, now for some kind of embellishment on the right hand side here, kind of want to go with a flower. Let's see if I have any small flowers in my stash. Found a couple of flowers from my stash from Recollections. This is sort of a pattern flower here. I thought it would look cute on the bigger mason jar here. And I added a pearl to the center, and I just glued it directly onto the mason jar. Now I really couldn't find a flower small enough to fit this one here. Like this bigger flower here looks actually pretty cute on the smaller mason jar, so I'm thinking to just put flowers on the bigger and smaller mason jar and kind of leave this one without. I think it'll be a little more pleasing to the eye that way. I know everyone likes to do things in 3, I do 2, but sometimes just trying to add my pearl. And these pearls are from Recollections as well. And I definitely need to find my tweezers. I know that. There we go. Just going to add a little glue to the back. Tell you, this glue is making me work today. Okay, glue that on there like that, and then you can fuss with the blooms if you want, like with the petals, raise them up a little bit to have a little more dimension to it. There we go. I think those look kind of cute. There we go. You can always go and do something a little more elaborate if you choose. You can, like I made a sample before, and I was trying to write the word love using my liquid pearls, which probably would have been a lot easier if I would have had fine line tip applicator. Then I wrapped the jute cording again, tied in a knot, and in this rose I kind of hand drew myself. That was me just playing around trying to see what ideas I could come up with. Now I'm also thinking of using the stamp set here. And this is a Studio G stamp set that I found in my stash. And I'm thinking of using this Sealed with a Kiss. Just stamp it on a piece of scrap white cardstock. And maybe, since I didn't add a flower to this one here, just stamp it, color it up a bit, and then add it as like a label for the middle mason jar. Okay, and my stamp block, and my smaller one for this. Man, I really need to go in and get my stamp blocks cleaned off. You know what might work as well? Let's see. I have like these craft paper labels. I picked these up in my local Dollar Tree. Thinking if I stamp it on there and then cut it out. Well, let's try it out. Let's see. Won't know unless you try. This brings about 50 labels in different sizes. Instead of having to use the white cardstock. There we go. That worked much better. Okay. It would tie in the jute cording. So I guess the best thing to do is just cut it right from here. Let's try to take the backing paper off. So this can work as our label for this mason jar, but also as our sentiment. Try to put it right there in the center. There you go, that works. So we have our mason jars done. Okay, I think we're just about done this card, guys. And my inky fingers got all over my card base. We are going to cover that up. I'm sure this has happened to you before. I'm thinking of arranging my mason jars like so. I think it will look cute like that. This is fun of card making, guys. You can make it look any way you want. Anything that's pleasing to your eye will work. And now my glue decides to clog up on me. And I am without my thumb tack. My little push pin that I put in there. Oh well. And I don't have my paper piercer. Seems to have disappeared from my desk as well. Okay, well, I'm gonna try to make the best of it. Try to get this glue to flow. Okay, there we go. Finally got it working, guys. Okay, let's put this one down first. Right where we want it, right there. Okay, let's get the second one down. Thinking what I'll do is add some dimension go on the other side. Okay, I was going to use pop dots, but my husband actually picked up some of this Scrapbook Adhesives Crafty Foam Tape. I really want to give it some dimension, but I don't want it to stick out too far from the card base. And this is a good thickness here. Yep, it is. Okay. Now I'm just going to add it right along here. So I need my scissors, which okay, found those. Do you find that happens a lot to you guys as well? When you're crafting and you put something down and then you turn around and then it's gone. A lot of times it happens to me, and mostly it's because either my husband or my kids, they'll come to my craft desk looking for something. Okay, now what I'm going to do is add a little bit of glue on this side. You know what, before I do that, let's see. Maybe I won't have to. And no, I don't. Okay, that's good. So I'm going to take off the backing. Okay, now let's add our final mason jar. Adding this one a little more off to the side here. Not so much like this one here. Let's see, hold on. So we need to add some foam adhesive here along the top. And then some along the bottom as well. So I'm going to cut a strip of that, add it along the bottom. Okay. Here we go. Now I'm going to get my marker, my cool gray marker again. And add a bit of shading just on the white cardstock. This mason jar is going to cast a shadow. I think it'll make it pop as well. Soften that color a bit. There we go. I think I'll add some sequins. So I can cover up those inky blotch marks I left with my fingers on the side here. And what I'm doing is just going along the outline, just following the outline of the mason jar. Okay. And then softening that color a bit using my lighter gray marker. And I'm going to add a little bit of shading up along the mason jar here because this one's overlapping it just a bit. Okay. Go back in with my lighter gray marker, soften that up. Okay. And do the same thing over here. This mason jar here on this side. Gonna have it go up onto this bigger mason jar because it's overlapping. Definitely want to add some shading there. Add a little bit of shading along the bottom here as well. You will see that just that little bit of shading will make these mason jars pop that much more off of the card base, which is what I want. And I can always go back in later if I want to add like some glossy accents to each of the mason jars to give them a shiny look to them, shiny finish to them. Adding a little bit of shading right here on this middle mason jar. And then I'll add some right here on the label as well. Now this is the B side of the paper that I used. Let's see. Yeah, and this is a B side for this light green paper here. And I have my little EK Success heart punch. That's what I'm going to use. It might be cool to add a few hearts, because this is a Valentine's Day card, to the mason jars. Okay, let me punch out a couple of these out of this pattern paper. Okay. Okay, kind of like how that looks there. What I'm going to do is do the same thing with my cool gray marker. Just going to add the shading just to the left hand side of these hearts. And I'll add a little bit of foam tape to the back of these hearts as well to give them a little bit of dimension. Okay. There we go. That's pretty cute. My daughter's gonna love that. Now I'm gonna add some sequins. Yeah, I think that might do it. Just scatter a few here and there. And I think the card is just about done. I think it's missing something else. Yep. Trying to figure out what that is. Okay, I think I know what it might need to finish it off. Oh, definitely added 6. I didn't mean to do that. When it comes to adding embellishments, I definitely like to use an odd number instead of an even number. Okay. Alright, let's just start adding our sequins on there. And you can use multi-matte medium or glossy accents will work well for adding sequins. Since I have my tacky glue out, I think I'll use that. Okay. And my daughter's like purple. I'm thinking of taking this pattern paper, using the B side here of this polka dot paper, and just cutting a strip off of that and adding it to the card to finish it off. I think it might be a good idea to add it along here, just to add a hit of color on the opposite side, so we still have the blue going. Or down the center. Now I kind of like it to the outside edge, okay. And then I know something else that I can use to finish this off. I know, should have been done this card already. Now the easiest way for me to attach this is to use my Xyron Create a Sticker. That way I don't have to mess with glue. Get that in there. Now if I can just get it lined up correctly, then we can be just about done with this card. And the other one to the other side. This piece is a little bit thicker, but it's okay. Now the point that I want to emphasize in doing this card series that you can find is basically you can find inspiration anywhere. That looks good. A home decor project or a wall hanging, you can take those and use it as a jumping off point to be able to create a card that'll be unique, one of a kind. Okay, now I know what I need, what is missing from this card base right here. Stoneware texture. I hope you can see that. Okay, there we go. Stoneware texture rubber stamp, and this is from JRL Design Company. I don't know if that company is still around. I know Stamping Up has sort of a stamp like this, where it's a series of like little dots. Just gonna go in with the ink, ink it up. Try to stamp this in a few spots. And get this along the top as well. Now I should have did this before I added my mason jars with all of its dimension. That's okay. It's never too late to go back in and add a little oomph to your card. I think that actually did it. Going in with my Wink of Stella to add some shimmer to the hearts here that I put on the larger and smaller mason jar. Okay. And I don't know if the camera can pick up on the shimmer there. Let's see. It's kind of, oh, there we go. It's kind of hard to see on camera, but white gel pen. And add a few highlights here and there. I'm gonna add a couple highlights to the label. Add a highlight to my mason jar here. Just a little bit in some areas, not too much. And I finished this card just in time because my oldest daughter will be home any second now. Yeah, let me see if that. Yep, the Wink of Stella is dry as well, so I'm going to add a little highlight to these hearts as well. And I can call this card done. Now all I have to do is just stamp my sentiment on the inside of the card, and it'll be ready to give to my daughter for Valentine's Day. Try to bring in the camera a little closer so you can get a close-up look. There we are. Move these markers out of my way. And there we go. I'll do it for part 1 in the Inspired by Pinterest card series, guys. So you can see the card is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. Just added a few embellishments here and there, some stamping, sequins, cording, flowers, pearls to create a card based on a pin for my pin board. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me today. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday and stay tuned. Hopefully I will be back sometime this week, hopefully before the weekend, with part 2 of the Inspired by Pinterest card series. And make sure to check the description box below for the link to the Two Paper Divas website where you can find the mason jar stamp that I used today to make this card. Thank you so much for watching, and I will catch you guys later. Peace!